Hello YouTube. Today I'll be completely disassembling my Sig Sauer P220 pistol. And we're going to start this disassembly by making sure that the pistol is unloaded. We'll take out the magazine, set it aside. We'll verify that the chamber is empty. And now we're going to lock the slide back. You will notice this notch on the slide needs to align with the slide stop. So we're going to push up on the slide stop, move the slide back until the slide stop engages that notch in the slide, at which point you'll see that another notch in the slide aligns with the takedown lever. We can now turn the takedown lever down and then pull the slide back slightly until the slide stop drops and allow the slide to move forward and take it off the frame completely. At this point we can remove the guide rod. It's under a lot of tension, so push forward a little bit, lift up away from the barrel, and allow to move back slowly. Now that you've got the guide rod and the spring, recoil spring, out of the slide, you can take the spring off of the guide rod just like that. Clean everything, lubricate, do whatever you need to do. Now, to remove the barrel, we're going to push up and take it out this way. We'll set the barrel aside too. First thing I like to do is remove the extractor. I'm using a screwdriver size that fits properly into this channel right behind the extractor. What we're going to do is move the plunger that you see right here back and away from the extractor. I'm going to put my screwdriver in just like that. I'm going to push the plunger back, and at the same time I'll work the extractor out just like that. Now I can release the plunger. The extractor fell out. So here's the extractor. And the plunger used to sit on top of this step. So we'll set our extractor aside. We're going to now remove the plunger by shaking it out, and you saw that its spring is coming out too, right behind it. Here's the hole where the spring and the plunger used to sit. And now to remove the striker or firing pin, we're going to drive out this one pin here. I'm going to use a 3/32 punch. In this case I'm going to be using brass punch. Just enough to where I know it's no longer interacting with the striker. You can take it out all the way too, but I don't see a reason to do it unless you absolutely have to. So watch what happens now when I release my punch or remove my punch. The striker is going to jump back a little bit, just like that. Now, to remove the striker all the way out of the slide, I'm going to aim the slide down towards my table, and I'm going to depress on the striker safety. And you see how the striker came out? So I'll keep pressing on the striker safety, making sure that I give it freedom to fall out completely. And so we have the striker out as well as its spring. I'm hoping my camera will focus. I'm not sure if it focused on the striker or not here. So you'll notice that the spring is crimped on one side. That's the side that goes into the groove on the striker. Okay. So you simply remove it, twist it off out of that groove. We'll set the striker and the spring up to the side. At this point, our striker safety is free to come out. I'll show you how it's positioned in the slide. This is the way it's set in there. This will give you a reference of how to put it back in. Okay? And you also see that the striker safety spring is still in the slide. we're going to shake it out, and that came out. And now we'll begin disassembling the frame. And lift away just like that. Usually this spring is what prevents the grip from coming off easily, so just kind of lift up and try to very carefully pull the grip away. So here's the other grip. So we're going to hold our hammer and pull the trigger, and then allow the hammer to ride forward. And I'm going to use a small screwdriver again, same size we used for the extractor removal. So I'm going to put my screwdriver into that little slot in the back. I'm going to push up away from the frame and then release slowly. Now you can take the cap off. Now we can take our hammer strut and its spring, turn it a little bit off to the side or away from the frame, I guess, and take it out. And this is the way it goes back when you're reinserting it. Okay? You can take the spring off of the hammer strut very easily, just like that. So we're going to start removing these parts here. First, we're going to take care of our decocking lever, and we do this by lifting this leg of the spring out of the hole. I'm going to use my nail, but you can use a special tool. So you simply lift it out, allow it to become free, and you'll see that a little plate just dropped out. On the other side, which was retaining the spring. Here's that plate. The way it goes back on the inside of the frame is exactly like that. Okay? And we're going to take this other spring out from the trigger bar. I'm going to hold the trigger bar up. I'm going to take the spring out of its little groove here in the back of the trigger bar, just like that. Remove that, and then when you're taking the spring out of this hole, what you want to do is turn the spring over, and it'll come out, and you'll see that the shape of the spring here is what forces you to do that. We're going to flip the frame over again. We're going to take out our takedown lever. The takedown lever needs to be rotated back up and actually all the way over, and I'm going to start pushing on it on this side as I'm turning it, and you'll see that with a click it'll kind of go into the frame deeper, and then I'm going to keep turning it as I'm taking it out, just like that, and out completely. So we're going to take our locking lug and lift it out of the frame like that, and it'll come out with its spring. We'll see that there's one pin that holds the trigger and the slide stop in place. We're going to take the spring out, or the spin out, by simply pushing it in. Note that this pin has serrations on it. Sometimes you'll see a screwdriver like flat screwdriver slot on the pin. That's done to help you orientate the pin correctly. Our slide stop can simply be lifted out of the frame just like that, And on the 220, the slide stop also acts as an ejector right here. On the 226, you will not see this ejector surface here. Instead, you'll see it sitting in the frame here. We'll start removing the trigger by rotating the trigger bar down and then pushing on the trigger and lifting it out from the top. You can disconnect the trigger bar from the trigger by simply taking the trigger bar out of the spin hole in the trigger. Now we can take out the sear. You'll see that the sear has a spring and one of its legs is under this pin on the side. What we're going to do is use a small screwdriver and get that spring leg from under the spring, or from under the pin. Now we can easily remove the sear by driving out this one pin, and it'll come out very easily. As we're removing the punch, our sear and spring will just fall out. And we can also take out the striker safety lever right here. Now we can remove the hammer by pushing out this pin. Very easy. The hammer sits under this return spring like that. So when you take it out, the only thing you have left to remove in the back of the frame here is this return spring and its housing. And you do that by drifting out this pin. I'm going to position my punch over that pin and drive it out completely. I can take my punch out and I can take this whole assembly out of the frame. Don't worry about the spring falling out. I'll show you how to reassemble everything. It used to go in, it used to sit in there like that. The only thing left to remove here on the frame is the magazine catch. You'll see this little plate here on the back. What I'm going to do, because not all plates come out easily, I'm going to use my breast punch, set it against this knob here in the back, just like that. So just like that, and then begin driving the plate off, sliding it. Take note that there is a spring sitting under the plate right here, so you want to make sure that you don't allow it to jump out and get lost. So I'm going to place my finger over where the spring is and continue driving the plate back, and I just felt the spring hit my finger, so there it is. Now we can take the plate off completely or move it back completely. There it is. You can take that plate off, but I'm leaving it in like this so you can see the orientation when you're replacing it back. So here's that plate. Okay, we can now take out this spring and flip the frame over. We'll push on this side. We'll push the magazine catch all the way over, and you'll see that little plunger that sits right here. You can barely see it. We'll need to use something small and sharp to press down on that plunger. But I'm going to keep my finger over that detent so it doesn't jump out, just like that. Let's take a look at this. This is how the detent goes back, and that's how it holds onto the frame. You can take it out right there.